Hey, John Cullen for Cognitive Edge. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about squirrels. Yep, you heard that right. Squirrels. Distraction squirrels are nasty little beasties that are intent on destroying our best performances. Just so y'all don't think I've totally lost my mind, I'm going to play a little clip here from one of my favorite movies that hopefully will give you some insight into where I'm coming from and where we're going.
I have just met you, and I love you. My master made me this collar. He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk. Squirrel!
Just like Doug, we all have squirrels that distract us from our purpose. And that's what we're going to be discussing right now. In particular, I want to introduce you to two of our indigenous distraction squirrels, the outside squirrel and the inside squirrel. So we'll deal with the outside squirrel first. Now, the tricky thing about the outside squirrel is they can be anywhere and they tend to hide. They're very sneaky. The good thing about having outside squirrels is that once you do find them, you can get rid of them fairly easily. Now, just to give you some examples of what I mean by outside squirrels, things like bad weather, that can become a very big distraction, whether it's from thunder and lightning or just the actual impact on the field and the equipment that you'll be using. Wet turf can mean slick conditions, or if you're in dirt, it can also mean mud. So that can definitely impact your ability to focus on the important parts of your performance. Loud noises. This happens quite a bit. Some dogs are very sensitive, and some humans too, to loud noises. And it can be something as simple as competing in a ring near a parking lot and someone slams a car door. Or it can be a slamming teeter that has a different noise than what the dog is used to. And of course, my very favorite, when someone hops on the PA and scares everybody. This is a prime example of an outside squirrel, a distraction that we need to be aware of. And the last one, of course, is spectator cheering. Typically, when we train and we're practicing, there's not spectators cheering us on. As well, when we compete in our local trials, we may have some friends and a few other agility enthusiasts watching, but there isn't really spectator cheering. But when you get to the larger events, regionals, national, worlds, and some of the tournaments where there's money on the line, you get a lot of screaming, cheering fans. And if you're not used to it, it definitely becomes one of those dastardly outside squirrels. Now, the outside squirrels are bad enough, but the second indigenous species that I mentioned before is the inside squirrels, and these guys are tough little buggers to get rid of. So the inside squirrel lives inside our head, and for example, focusing on past mistakes. This is a huge distraction squirrel that is very tough to get rid of. It's one of the things that many people cite as issues as to why they don't perform their best or reach their peak performance. Another example is overanalyzing. You can do this in a couple different ways. It can be done by breaking down a previously really well learned skill into its component parts so that, for example, you may be working on changing an arm position or something to cue your dog, and instead of just thinking about it as one fluid motion, you're breaking down what each arm is doing and how that coordinates with your legs, and that really results in very poor performance. The breakdown happens. So that's overanalyzing from a physical or motor control perspective. But there's also overanalyzing when you take a look at your handling plan. For the most part, people who are very successful, they may change their plan once or twice, but once they've settled on a plan, they're good to go and they execute that plan very well. Overanalyzing comes in is when you're changing non-stop, always unsure, flipping different parts right up to the time you're at the start line. And you're not sure, you're not confident in your plan, and that's because you're overanalyzing it. Outside stress. This can be a huge distraction, and it affects all of us, not just in agility, but in other aspects of our lives as well. It can be family issues, it can be health issues, it can be money issues. But this is another one of those inside squirrels, inside distraction squirrels that can impact your performance. And the last one that I want to mention in this video is impressing others. You may have family that have come in for the weekend and you brought them, oh, this is what I've been doing with my dog, come on out and watch. And now you want to really put on a very excellent show and performance, but you're more focused on impressing these people who are coming to watch than actually on the performance cues. And the same thing, it can be said, maybe your coach is at this one and at this competition and is watching you. And that's another thing where you start getting distracted by what other people think about how you're doing. And as you can see, these inside squirrels, they follow us wherever we go. Even on the car ride home, some of these outside squirrels stick between our ears all the way home, and possibly for the weeks following. They're tough guys to get rid of. But now that we've spent some time identifying what the inside and outside distraction squirrels are, the next step that we need to take is to get to better know our enemy. One of the things with distraction squirrels is everybody has their own unique pack of squirrels running around wreaking havoc in their game. And so it's very important that you get to know your enemy. Step 1, keep a record. Make sure that you're recording things down, like what distracted you and what was the outcome. And what were your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in response to that. Number 2, divide and conquer. Make sure you break up your distractions into the inside and outside type. They require different, as you can see, I'm having an outside squirrel right now running around in my living room. So I'm going to try and fight through this and just ignore it and not worry about what's on it. But we want to divide the inside and the outside squirrels because they're going to have different actions that we can take to overcome them. And that leads us to our next step, strategize. Once you've identified what your distractions are, now you need to come up with an idea of how to defeat them or how to overcome them. So what you're going to do is sit down and list, if this distraction happens, this is the action I take. And this will help you reduce the stress when things do happen. You don't have to worry about what the solution is, you already know it. And the last one, I'm going to talk about evaluate. Without evaluating, you don't know the effect you're going to have. Without evaluating, you really don't know whether or not the changes you've made and the strategies you've used are having any type of effect. So that's key, because if you find out things are working well, you can stay the course, but if things aren't working well, then you need to come up with a different solution. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little presentation on distraction squirrels and that you're able to deal with some of them, identify them, and maybe kick some of them out. Thanks for watching. I don't know if you know this or not, but I really enjoy reading your comments. So please, don't be shy.